of all, I'd like to thank everybody for being here to this Women's Symposium. We have been looking forward to this. Our team has been anticipating this, and the day is here, and we're so happy. Before I start, can you hear me okay? I think I lost my voice sort of at the Women's Self-Defense class put on by Rhiannon Leopard. It was an awesome class. Not me, not today. She did such a great job at the class. I'd like to extend a thank you to Steve Cooper. I'm not sure if he's here in this room, I hope so. He's the producer of the IKC. I'd like to thank him for inviting us to put on this event and also being so accommodating to us during the course of the months that we were planning this event. A little history first. It was Steve Cooper who first thought of the idea of a women's symposium, and he asked me to put one on at the 50th anniversary of the IKC in 2014. It was well received. It generated a lot of enthusiasm. 6 years later, COVID hit, and we all in this country learned about Zoom. At that time, I asked Heather Flessing, who you'll meet just a little bit, if she could help me coordinate a Zoom symposium. We had a panel of about 12 women. Everyone was excited about the idea. We discussed topics posed by women in the community. Denise Plowman was one of the women on the symposium, on the panel, and at that time, after the first one, I asked her if she would join a team, and we officially became the Kenpo Women's Symposium. And thank God she said yes. Our team now consists of 10 incredible women who you'll meet. They have vision, commitment, passion for empowering and helping others. In just a moment, I'll be introducing Heather and Denise. But first, our team members. They include Rhiannon and Madeline Leopard, Michelle Higgins, Marisol Cerspades, all the way from Chile, Jennifer Gibson, Mika Ulrich, and Linda Adams. We've had a total now of 7 symposiums, about 53 martial artists from around the world. And our goals are to encourage and empower women and provide a platform to share their experiences, goals, successes, and challenges with others actively involved in Kenpo. And the overall feeling of these symposiums is an ongoing culture of goodwill. Now I'd like to share something with you. This will be my first symposium without my husband, Bob White. Bob had a tremendous history here at the IKC, as did our school. He was well respected. He's greatly missed, and there's a void here without him. Bob also had a lot of respect for women in Kenpo. So I've kind of been looking through some old posts of Bob's I want to share on Facebook, just so people can have a little Bob on Facebook. And I came across a post that he had written, and I'd like to share this with you. He talked about how he wanted to be a better teacher, and all the lessons that he learned through fellow martial artists, as well as his students, and went on to write about how he wanted to be a better husband and father, and how throughout the years he adjusted his thinking to do just that. He said, "I believe in today's world women are equal to men and should be treated accordingly. I know in our studio and at home that is the case." I want to say here, Bob didn't just say this, he lived it. A third of our black belts at the studio are women who are leaders and teachers. He continually supported and encouraged me to pursue what was important to me, one of which was recognizing and empowering other women. So today I share that I feel God's Spirit with us today in this room. I hear his voice of encouragement, even though he's absent in body. And I think there's many in this room who could say that they feel the same. And for this, I'm so truly grateful to everybody here and to your support. So I'd like to lift up this symposium, in fact, this entire weekend, to the Lord. And then I'd also like to dedicate this symposium and this entire weekend to the honor and to the memory of my husband, Bob White. So now I get a chance to introduce 2 wonderful women. I'm going to first introduce Heather. I've known Heather Flessing for 13 years when she first came to the studio. Heather is, I consider her a wonderful friend. I still have to read your bio. Okay. You can thank you for support. A wonderful friend. She has a heart of service. You go to any tournament that there is around here in Southern California, you're likely to see Heather, because Heather is working the tournament and helping other people. She is so talented, efficient. She's organized. She's the one. See these posters right here? All the posters you've seen, the videos you've seen on Facebook, the flyers, those are Heather's. We so appreciate her. I am so grateful to Heather. I'm grateful to her as a friend and for what she brings to the Kenpo Women's Symposium. Heather's a third-degree black belt who began her Kenpo journey at our karate studio, Bob White's Karate Studio, in Costa Mesa, California, in 2010. She's fourth degree now. Whoops, you didn't change your bio. Oh, I took the old bios. All right. I stand corrected. She's a fourth degree black belt, and well-deserved, well-earned. She attended karate tournaments in Southern California and Nevada, achieving first place in sparring, as well as forms in many of these tournaments. In addition to being a Kenpoist, she also trains in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and is a blue belt. Heather is the staging coordinator for our studio's charitable karate tournament, and as you heard me say just a little bit earlier, in practically every other tournament we see here in Southern California, she's there helping and staging. She teaches children classes at our studio as well as adult sparring. Furthermore, she has led women's self-defense classes in an effort to share her knowledge with other women. Heather lives in Orange, California with her husband and 3 cats, and I will add that there will be an addition very soon. So congratulations, Heather. She's a leading interventions teacher at an elementary school in the nearby city of Fullerton, and she loves teaching. She also teaches college accounting classes at Cal State University in Long Beach. In addition to being a teacher, Heather is an avid learner and has received her master's degree in both education and accountancy. Welcome, Heather. And I feel honored now to introduce Denise Plowman. So I want to share that over the past year, when Bob and I were going through all of the stages of his first diagnosis and the tests that it took and the treatments, the interventions, surgery, and finally hospice. Denise was out there in the planning phases of this symposium. I feel very grateful to Denise. Really showed compassion to Bob and me, called us quite often texted me how we're doing. So she was mostly in charge. She was always in charge of the communication, the agenda, and pulling this whole thing together. She's also the voice of our social media, as you probably well know. She's the stalker of our social media, as you probably well know. So our Facebook page has grown from its inception in 2020 to now we have about 950 members at this time. And every single day I get this email, so-and-so wants to join Kenpo Women's Symposium. And I thank you so much, so much. In fact, I thank every single person on our team. You guys are such awesome women. And you've really carried our team through. And I thank you so much, grateful to everybody. I'm grateful for all of you being here and supporting us. Now on to Denise's bio. Denise Plowman. I want to make sure I get you right. She's a 6th degree black belt under the instruction of Senior Master John Sepulveda in the Advanced Kenpo Training System. Her Kenpo training began in 1994 under the instruction of Steve Moore at his newly opened Boise Kenpo Karate School. He was promoted to 1st degree black belt under the American Kenpo Karate System at the Jeff Speakman Camp in 1998. And she was the first woman to be promoted to black belt in the Kenpo organization in the state of Idaho at that time. In 1999, Mr. Steve Moore decided to pursue his career in law enforcement, and Denise made the decision to take over the Boise Karate School. She was also an amateur full contact coaching, kickboxing coach and trainer, and she had a handful of fighters who competed both in Idaho and California. In 2011, due to a belt promotion in her promotion in her career, which required a lot more travel, Denise made the decision to close the Boise Kenpo Karate School. In 2017, she retired, recommitted herself to her Kenpo journey, and once again began teaching students out of her garage and continued her training directly under Mr. John Sepulveda. She also continued to train in Muay Thai at SBG Idaho, and has recently begun training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. In 2022, Denise was inducted into the Kenpo Hall of Fame in Los Angeles. So it's at this time that I am turning the mic over to Denise. It's all yours.
Well, we have to do formalities here. Go ahead. Can you hear me without the mic, or do you need the mic? Well, we all know Barbara, right? She's the founder of this whole thing we've got going here. So just one round of applause to her. I'm going to introduce Barbara, who began her martial arts career in 1991 and holds a, your seventh, right?
Yes.
We're checking them. 7th degree black belt in Kenpo Karate. Barb found her way to her home at Bob White's Karate Studio 6 years into her training. There she met her husband, her best friend, and beloved partner. During their 20-year marriage, they've had the opportunity to travel to Europe, South America, and throughout the United States, teaching seminars together and meeting friends. Together, Bob and Barb have 6 adult daughters who have families of their own. On the days Barbara is not working full-time as a registered nurse, she is teaching at the karate school. Barbara has a deep gratitude for how martial arts has impacted her life, beginning with meeting the love of her life, Bob. Her journey in Kenpo has been enriching and empowering and has led her to desire to give back to the art. One way has been through a women's self-defense program she started in 2007 called Empowerment, giving women the opportunity to learn martial arts and be excited about its contagious and empowering. Bob, Barbara, and the BWKS team have actively promoted a weekend event for Royal Family Kids, a worldwide organization that provides a week-long camp for abused and neglected children. Since 2005, $1.5 million, pretty amazing, has been raised by friends and fellow martial artists who have supported this charity. A passion of Barb's is the desire to promote the recognition of women in our Kenpo system. In 2014, Steve Cooper asked her to present a Kenpo Women's Symposium at the 50th anniversary of the IKC. 6 years later, the first twice-yearly Zoom symposium was started. Our team that makes up the Kenpo Women's Symposium is excited about this year's event and what the future holds for women in Kenpo. In 2017, she was inducted into the Kenpo Karate Hall of Fame and is featured in the Journey Book 3, American Kenpo's Next Generation. She was recognized as the Kenpo Woman of the Year in Miami, Florida in 2019. Barb feels a sense of gratitude to God, family, and our Kenpo community for the immeasurable joy and opportunities provided through her career in both Kenpo and nursing. So thank you, Barb, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. All right, so kind of just a little bit what we're going to do here today is we've got our panelists. They've all been given some questions that we thought would help pertain to the Kenpo community that they're going to answer. We're going to be different moderators up here introducing each of the panelists. And then after we're done with this, we're going to have a Q&A. So if there's questions that you want to ask afterwards, hang out and talk to the panelists. They'll be here until we have to head over to the next event at 6 o'clock, which is the Friday Night Line. So I am honored to introduce our next moderator, who is also a part of the advanced Kenpo training system that I belong to, who is an upcoming star, I think, in that organization. and today proved it as she put on the self-defense program with Barbara. Brianna Leopard moved to Spokane, Washington a couple of months after high school graduation in 1998. She quickly learned that women were being attacked regularly on the walking trail near her apartment, so she decided to look for a self-defense school. She walked into Northwest Kenpo Karate and was hooked from the beginning. Growing up, Rhiannon was bullied relentlessly, and Mr. Chris Pantene, the owner of Northwest Kenpo Karate, was instrumental in helping Rhiannon find her inner strength and self-confidence. She trained from 1999 until 2006, earning her third-degree brown belt. Her goal was to earn her black belt, but she and her husband had their first of 5 children in May of 2006. She took nearly 15 years off from Kenpo. She's been a little busy. Over these 15 years, she thought often about Kenpo and missed the days of training, their friendships, and the challenge of martial arts. When her oldest child became a teenager, she knew it was time to revisit what brought her happiness, satisfaction, and a sense of accomplishment. Rhiannon returned to Northwest Kenpo Karate under its current owner, Mr. Kurt Becker. Where is he? He's here. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Oh, see. In June 2020, she was hesitant to put on her third-degree brown belt because it had been so long since she trained, but Mr. Becker assured her it was not only appropriate but welcome. She started back at the very beginning with the yellow belt techniques and worked hard to relearn all of the basics, techniques, sets, and forms. 16 months later, in October 2021, she tested for second-degree brown belt and was promoted. Mr. Becker has been such a blessing and has helped her regain her confidence in the martial arts. As a mother, Rhiannon feels it is important to equip her 5 children with skills and teach them healthy discipline and structure. She also desires for them to have another great role model in their lives. She loves that her children have embraced Kenpo, and she is truly excited for her daughters and the legacy they are already creating as future women in Kenpo. Rhiannon will be testing for her first-degree black belt in September, in about a month and a half. She is grateful for her instructor, training partners, and her family of her unwavering support. In her professional life, Rhiannon has worked as a licensed mental health counselor. She is passionate about helping her clients identify their strengths, develop goals, and work their way to mental wellness. She is also pursuing a PhD in counselor education and supervision because Rhiannon doesn't have enough to do during her day. Rhiannon's other hobbies include playing the trombone, clarinet, and piano, singing alto in her church choir, and competing in triathlons and other races. She has completed the Coeur d'Alene Half Ironman, countless sprint and Olympic distant triathlons, half marathons, and a variety of other races. She has also completed the 1.76-mile-long bridge swim in Sandpoint, Idaho. She loves camping, kayaking, and reading a good book by the lake. Her children are her greatest accomplishment, and she feels lucky to be their mom. So I can now introduce Rhiannon.
All right, thank you. I appreciate being here, and I'm especially excited to be able to introduce our first panelist today, my daughter Madeline. And as Ms. Plum said, my kids are my greatest pride and my accomplishment, and I'm excited that my kids are involved in Kenpo Karate. So with that, Madeline Leopard's first introduction to Kenpo Karate was in 2007 as an infant crawling on the mats at Northwest Kenpo Karate, while her mom trained under Mr. Chris Pantene, who would later become one of her favorite friends and an important grandpa figure in her life. As she grew up, her mom would ask her if she was interested in participating in Kenpo. Madeline did not express any interest, but Mom continued to ask every so often. One evening in late 2021, Madeline and her mom were talking, and she randomly asked, "Mom, what if I did Kenpo?" Her mom was so excited, Madeline initiated the conversation, but she kept her composure and simply said, "What if?" and shrugged her shoulders. Madeline began her training in Kenpo Karate under Mr. Kurt Becker the following week, attending with her mom and 3 brothers. A naturally strong and independent young woman, she immediately gravitated toward the discipline and structure within the art and has been training ever since. She is currently at a yellow belt and has set a goal to obtain her black belt. Madeline attended her first John Sepulveda's Spirit Camp at Camp Gifford in 2022 and experienced a broader view of Kenpo focused on family, honor, respect, and significant lessons taught over that weekend. One of the most pivotal moments for Madeline was the Saturday night fireside chat attended by many of the greatest Kenpo practitioners of our time. Closing out the fireside, to honor the memory of Sigo and Stephen Levanti, we recited the chant, "Not me, not today." Establishing and solidifying the mindset that we do not have to be a victim of circumstance, this chant stuck with Madeline. Not me, not today. It became a personal mantra she shared with others post-camp. She was so moved by the power and collective camaraderie of this recitation. In the days following camp, she told her mom, "We should order stickers that say, 'Not me, not today,' to be reminded of our strength." We scoured the internet and did not find anything like it, so we shared the idea with the other members of the Kenpo Women's Symposium board. Shortly thereafter, artwork was created by a fellow board member, Mika Ulrich, and high-quality stickers were born. These stickers are now handed out at women's self-defense seminars as a reminder of that mentality, not me, not today. Madeline was invited to join the Kenpo Women's Symposium board as a youth ambassador in 2022, a result of her desire to advance the work of promoting women in Kenpo karate. At 17 years old, in addition to attending her senior year of high school upcoming, she also participates in Running Start, attends early morning seminary classes, works as a cook at a local restaurant, works during summer and fall at our local theme park in the food and beverage department as a department lead, and she serves in her church's young women's organization. She loves training in Kenpo karate, enjoying her dog and cats, spending time with her friends, having the freedom of driving, taking day trips for her birthday to random small towns to explore, enjoying spontaneous adventures with her mom, dad, and 4 siblings, playing trombone and softball, and giving hugs to elderly friends at church. So Madeline, our question for you is, what have you contributed as a youth ambassador to the Kenpo Women's Symposium?
Okay. One of the major things I feel like I have contributed personally as a youth ambassador to the Women's Kenpo Symposium are, as my mom mentioned, the creation of the Not Me, Not Today stickers with the help of Mika Ulrich. I feel that for me personally, having the belief of Not Me, Not Today is that it's a cool personal inside thing, but I also thought it'd be super cool to have that as a more outside and broad statement and one that I can share with others. And so I think that's definitely been one of my big contributions.
Thank you. Our next panelist is Jenny Kuiper, and I'm excited to be able to introduce her. She has quite a story. Jenny Kuiper has been practicing martial arts for over 30 years and is a true enthusiast. She began her journey in 1991 with Hawaiian Kenpo and has since continued to explore and educate herself in various martial arts styles, including Kenpo 5.0. Her passion and dedication have led her to achieve a 6th-degree black belt in Hawaiian Kenpo, and she is currently preparing to test for her 5th-degree black belt in Kenpo 5.0 in July 2023. And she made it. Jenny is the proud owner and head instructor of Jeff Speakman's Kenpo 5.0 online academy. Through her teachings, she aims to share her knowledge and expertise with students from all over the world in a respectful and empowering manner. Jenny believes that martial arts is not just about technique, but also about personal growth and development. By connecting with martial arts worldwide, she is able to guide them on their own unique martial arts journey. Outside of martial arts, Jenny is a devoted wife and mother to 2 active boys. She enjoys exploring her creative side through hobbies like reading, hiking, painting, and jewelry making. Her passion for martial arts, coupled with her dedication to teaching and helping others, has made her a highly respected figure in the martial arts community. Whether you are a beginner or an experienced martial artist, Jenny's experience, expertise, and commitment to her students make her an invaluable asset to anyone looking to grow and develop in the discipline. So Jenny, our question for you is, how did your online program start and what does it look like now? What successes have you had?
Excellent, thank you. So we all experienced a time where we had to go onto Zoom, and that's where the thought idea for the online academy began. So We understood that going from in-person training, which is absolutely imperative to understand the contact manipulation of martial arts, could then, to an extent, be learned online. I took that idea, developed it, and the beauty of it is physical schools can reach a certain radius of students. The online academy is there for everybody else who is not within striking distance of a physical school. Kenpo 5.0 has schools all over the world in 21 different countries. We are very heavy on the west coast of the United States. What is very awesome about the expansion of the online academy is now we are gaining a larger presence of student body on the East Coast. We have recent new students in Canada, Mexico, and in Venezuela, which is very exciting. And one of the beautiful things that has come from the online academy, there are a lot of people who have always wanted to train in Kenpo, but maybe can't because, again, they're not within striking distance of the school. So they dive into the nearest martial arts school and just live their martial arts journey through that. Well, now they're finding out that there is an opportunity to do Kenpo 5.0 online. And so some of these martial artists have schools, and now they have an opportunity to learn the Kenpo 5.0, which is the Just Speakman evolution of the American Kenpo Ed Parker system. So now we have school owners who are interested to learn this along with what they're teaching. We have two schools, one in Lynchburg, Virginia, that recently launched that has transitioned to teaching Kenpo 5.0. So now we have a 5.0 school on the East Coast. We have a school up in Ontario, Canada, which is amazing because they've been our neighbor they've always been our neighbor, but in Kenpo 5.0 for decades, and we've not had that presence, and now it's there. And we have students who are in the Kenpo Online Academy who are learning the material to open schools in Florida and expand. So where it initially started, just reaching students all over the world, is now expanding to people who are interested in opening schools to further have a grander outreach in their community, both in person, where I'm able to reach online.
So thank you, Jenny. And maybe just a quick follow-up question. What do you say to people who say online training is limited due to the lack of hands-on training with other partners?
And that's a great question. I get that question a lot. So I would say, yes, you're absolutely correct. Because as we know, it's very important to have hands-on training. But that really is one aspect of training when it comes to martial arts. And most of us in this room are instructors. We understand that martial arts isn't just the physical. There's an emotional, there's a mental, there's a spiritual aspect to it. The tool of visualization is very important when it comes to martial arts. But just because we're online doesn't mean we don't get to have in-person training. I'm starting to get students that are joining the online academy that are in the same communities, and they're like, do you have anybody else? Yes, I do. And so now there's people connecting in cities that they never knew were there. And that's what's going to continue happening as the online academy grows. It is one hurdle that the online academy addresses, the online training. The in-person contact manipulation with the partner, yes, it's a challenge. I have a training uki that my students have, and we can kind of do that translation of movement in that manner. But then we have our annual camp in Vegas, which just finished a couple weeks ago, that all students are welcome to come to. The online academy had a in-person test where a quarter of our students came to camp, and then we finished a test in person. In Kenpo 5.0, you have to test blue belt and above in person. So it gives everybody an opportunity to go to a regional school or an annual event, whether that's here in the States or in Europe or any other country where Kenpo 5.0 is present. It is also giving, so that is one hurdle. Other hurdles that people come up against when it comes time to training is, schedules. People can't always attend martial arts schools because of their schedules. So, or there might be other limitations, whether that's mental limitations, emotional, or physical. They can't get up and go to a physical school, so the online program gives people an opportunity to get involved in the martial arts and all the benefits. So yes, the hands-on training is something that is a little bit of a limitation, but all of the other opposite of that is a benefit that is what the online academy provides.
Wonderful, thank you so much. What an amazing opportunity to bring Kenpo to others that may not be able to access it. Thank you. It is now my absolute pleasure to introduce our next moderator, Michelle Higgins. Michelle Higgins is a second-degree black belt who trains under Sean and Rebecca Knight at Knight Method Kenpo in Tucson, Arizona. Michelle is passionate about encouraging women and girls to explore Kenpo and discover their potential as martial artists. She has held many self-defense seminars in the community, including at the YWCA, Girl Scouts, and Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. Michelle also holds a third-degree black belt and is a certified instructor in Tang Sudo. She has participated in many local and regional tournaments, including the Battle in Seattle and Battle of LA, and was the grand champion in women's sparring in 2013. She has a husband and 2 adult children, all of whom are also black belts. When Michelle is not training, she works at the University of Arizona as the Associate Director of Societal Impact, where she works to translate the expertise of researchers into policies, practices, and programs that benefit society. Michelle is also working on her PhD in educational psychology, exploring mathematics doxa in secondary education.
Thank you so much. Now I feel like I have to live up to that. All right, so it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, our next panelist. Having recently celebrated her 30th anniversary in Kenpo, Marisol Céspedes Aranda's journey began in October 1992 at the age of 6. Her parents saw Master Mario Galvez on television and were encouraged to sign her and her brothers up in martial arts in an effort to focus their energy and hyperactive personalities towards something good. The world of Kenpo was dominated by males, causing a simplified version of Kenpo to be created for females. Since women were not common in Kenpo, this allowed her to stand out in competitions and advance to the next belt levels upon successfully fulfilling the requirements for each level. This created a resolve in Marisol to become a black belt and to be better every day. After many attempts to place first in tournaments, especially in point sparring categories, she finally achieved first place in self-defense at the age of 13, when she was a third-degree brown belt. It was not until her first dangerous situation that she questioned her approach to training. Though she survived the situation, she resolved to focus more than ever on a core aspect of Kenpo, self-defense. In 2000, at the age of 14, Marisol achieved the rank of black belt. She knew that this was the beginning of a long life in the Kenpo system. Marisol took on the stereotypical challenge to demolish the myth that young women were not capable of achieving the rank of black belt. When she was about 16 or 17 years old, Marisol was approached by a 10-year-old who tried to steal her cell phone on the way home. At that time, she'd been teaching classes in the dojo of Master Mario Galvez for a few years. This situation, as well as other life experiences, aided in her decision to continue her training as an instructor, focusing on teaching children. She wanted to become an agent of change in the lives and provide principles to future generations. Between 2006 and 2019, Marisol traveled to Venezuela and the US to compete and participate in seminars with first-generation masters of Kenpo. She also taught alongside Master Galvez in his seminars. Marisol has been instrumental in introducing Spanish-speaking women to Kenpo karate. In 2016, she started a project and Facebook page called Mujeres en Kenpo, a Spanish version of Women in Kenpo. In 2022, she was invited to become an ambassador for Latin America as part of the Kenpo Women's Symposium leadership team, where she continues to actively participate. Professionally, Marisol holds the title of auditor accountant and has diplomas in information security and cybersecurity, currently working in a professional services firm as a senior manager. Marisol proudly acknowledges that Kenpo, her masters, professors, instructors, and family have given her the tools to be the person she is today. And above all, her goal is to be a good person. Please welcome Marisol to the panel.
Thank you very much.
Your question this afternoon is, what struggles have you faced as a Latin American Kenpoista?
Thanks. First of all, it's impossible not to thank whole of history of people who travel, invest, train, work, translate text in Spanish, because without them, people who are not to quit in Kenpo, is not keep the flame, is expand the flame. Without them, I'm not to be here. And first of all, I want to thank everyone, Latin American and Ibero-American Kenpoists, to work hard in American Kenpo. Answering the question, the difficulties is in different angles, is a lot. Distance, economics, things, time, family, work hard, and also language, and even self-confidence. Geographically, you understand about distance, 14 hours of traveling in this case. It's a lot, but always the sacrifice makes good results, always. In economics, you need to understand Latin American people. In average, the minimum salary is between $238 and $360. And this is my reality, our reality. For us to pay a ticket to be here or be in Europe, around the world, is a lot of effort. That is economics. And language is another big deal. For me, in 2008, in the tournament in Venezuela, I had an anecdote with Grandmaster Planas. Some people, some judge, Venezuela judge, asked me, okay, you need to say to Grandmaster Planas, we need to him in ring 6. For me, in my own confidence, I said to him that. He answered, I don't understand anything she said. For me, was a challenge, because from 2008 and today I can do an answer for your question, for example. It's a lot of work for that, really. And the most difficult for me is the self-confidence. Because each one of us try to build the self-confidence in our techniques, our movement, and how strong are each movement to don't hurt people and teach a bit with Kenpo values, principles, honor, respect, and loyalty. That's for me, it's the most difficult, is the self-confidence. Thank you.
I have the pleasure of introducing our next panelist. After seeing Bruce Lee as Kato in the Green Hornet television show, Mikey Rowe Moore wanted to learn karate. In 1968, Mikey started karate with her first instructor, Nancy Miller, the first woman to be promoted to first-degree black belt in Koju Kenpo by Charles Gaylord. On March 3rd, 1973, Mikey received her first-degree black belt at the Northern California Referees Association's end-of-the-year banquet, where she was the only female member. Grandmaster Gaylord removed his belt and promoted Mikey with it, remarking he never wanted anyone to question her rank or whether she earned the right to wear a black belt. Mikey was instrumental in establishing women's divisions in California tournaments. She asked El Reyes Sr. to have a division for women of all weights, sizes, and belts at this tournament. She also promised if no one showed up, she would pay for the trophies. The following month, karate history was made. California had women's divisions. From then on, Mikey continued to make tournaments better for women and children. In 1969, Mikey opened a karate school in Orinda, California, where she and her husband, also a black belt, taught karate. In 1972, she opened a women's figure salon and karate school in El Sobrante, California, 25 miles from the Orinda school. A familiar face on local TV station San Pablo's Channel 6, Mikey had her own exercise show, which ran from 1973 to 75. Mikey and her students did demonstrations for the California city of Richmond's 4th of July celebration for 20,000 people in 1975 and in 1976. Mikey competed in most of the major tournaments where she won or placed. In 1977, she won first place at Ed Parker's International Karate Championships in the lightweight black belt women's division. She bowed out to her student and teammate who had won the heavyweight black belt women's division for grand champion. That was the first year there was a grand champion black belt for women. Mikey's two women's black belt teams took first and second places, while her white belt team took first place. In 1973, Mikey received the coveted Mike Stone's Gold Fist Award for 1971 to 1973 Outstanding Competitor, which was the only year the Golden Fist was awarded. Mikey was one of the first 10 women to be nominated for the nation's top 10 karate women, and the first from Northern California. She was also in the first top 5 to be rated in Karate Illustrated. She remained in the top 10 and top 5 until she retired from competition in 1977. She's been inducted into the Kenpo International Hall of Fame, as well as the Cleveland Martial Arts Hall of Fame, and has received the Kumite Classic Bushido Award. She was the first woman to be inducted into the Cleveland Actions magazine, and she received the Hall of Honor's Lifetime Achievement Award and the Joe Louis Eternal Warrior Award. In the Bay Area during the 1970s and the 1980s, Mikey was a consultant on movie sets as a martial arts advisor. She was also on national talk shows where she pushed her common sense self-defense. Even in her 80s, Mikey is still training and teaching seminars all over the country. She's been a member of the American Karate Academy National Association since 2014. Mikey also promotes the Sports Karate Museum all over the country. Recently, she entered a tournament after not competing since 1977, and she took 3rd place. When asked why she entered, she said, "I teach people how to fight in competition, so I needed to see if what I'm teaching worked." She seems to mix it up quite a bit. Let's welcome Mikey as our panelist. Your first question is, can you talk about the early years of competition and what, if any, was different for women in martial arts?
The early years, can everybody hear me? The early years, there was no women's division. So if you wanted to compete, you competed with the men, which was okay with me. And it was okay with some other women. One of the competitors who they moved to women's division, she hated it. She was a lightweight Golden Gloves champion of Arizona. Her name was Marion Bermudez, and she gave the guys all they could handle. So there just wasn't a lot of women, and there weren't a lot of black belt women. I believe there was 3, maybe no more than 3 black belt women. One of them, my instructor, and the other 2 black belt women were wives of instructors, and they were not active in tournaments. They helped with the promoting of the tournaments. They weren't active.
Yeah.
It got better. They started the Northern California Referees Association, and invited black belts, people that own studios, and I owned one when I was a blue belt. I was not a black belt when I opened it. My instructor taught it one, my ex-husband taught it the other one. But I owned them both. My name was on the lease. So I was invited to the Northern California's Referees Association, and I participated. I was quiet, and at the end of the day, I made my points. So that's how it was for women. There just weren't that many. By the 70s, I could see, I was also working at the time for Elaine Powers, and women were restless, and I could see that, and they were bored with exercise classes, so I started adding, blocks, kicks, whatever, just as part of the exercise routine. I went and worked with Jack LaLanne, and we incorporated them into his exercise routine, so it made it a little more exciting. And everybody could all of a sudden see, with women come children, and fill up. Before then, it was just a good old boys club. The first woman that won the internationals was a woman, her name was Paganini, and she beat the men to win at the internationals, the first woman. And that's about, I'm going to say, 1967, 66, so before me. But they were trying.
Thank you for all of you that you have done for leading the way for the women that are here today. I have a second question for you. Throughout all the years in the martial arts, you still continue to practice, train, and teach on a routine basis. What drives you to continue your ongoing quest in the martial arts? Can you share a little bit about your daily routine?
Yes. I get up and I shoot 5 racks of pool so that my brain's coordinated with my body. Then I have machines I work out on. The Health Rider, where I do 1,000 reps. I have a crunch machine. I do 400 crunches and 200 setups. I have a Bowflex where I work with weights for my arms and my legs. And then I go in and I do warm-ups. I do kicks, blocks, punches, up and down the floor. I do kicks off the floor. One day somebody was saying, I did 200 kicks today, so I thought, well, maybe I had to count how many kicks I do. I'm not going to tell you how many kicks I do, but it's right close to 700. When I go back and forth on the floor, I do 2 flights of stairs and I come back down. At the end of my workout, I do my kata every day. And I do it 5 times if I do it perfect. If I do no more than 10. But if I don't get it perfect, then I continue until I do it. And what motivates me is I'm teaching. And I used to see these people that were overweight, couldn't breathe, couldn't talk, couldn't move. And how are they going to teach me or set an example? I love teaching, and I don't want to stop, and that's what motivates me.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that answer.
Mikey, your workout is very inspiring. For someone who likes to work out, that's
I didn't say I liked it.
Well, it's very inspiring, and let me get my bio here.
I forgot one more thing.
Yes.
Every night I walk 2 miles.
We all have something to strive for. And the young lady sitting next to you is an inspiration because every time she walks into the studio, she's doing handstands and trying to do push-ups or doing handstand push-ups, never sitting on the bench and always doing something. She's an inspiration, and JC, you got your workout partner right here sitting next to you. So I am really happy to introduce Jocelyn, AKA JC, because she is an inspiration to our studio. You know, she influences others. She comes in and she works out. She's not on the bench. She's one of the most driven young ladies that I've ever met. JC, Jocelyn de Temple, is also known as JC. She's 13 years old and has been training at our studio, Bob White's Karate Studio, for about 7 years now. She started karate when she was about 6. Her dad, Tom de Temple, who trains just as, actually, almost trains as hard as JC. Yeah, you got a little competition there. Had taken up karate when he was a kid, but then broke his leg and had to stop. One night at the dinner table, her dad asked her if she was interested in martial arts. JC was resistant at first, but when he did sign her up, she enjoyed it a lot and began training with him, and they progressed up through the ranks together. Her dad just received his black belt in the summer of 2022, and JC just got her black belt in May of this year. And congratulations once again to JC. Such a journey you've had that you're still having. A few years ago, when JC got to her blue belt, she realized how much she had learned and how much karate benefited her as a person. She learned to fight through sparring and has won a couple of competitions in Southern California as well as Las Vegas. Now that her little sister Natalie is involved in karate, it has become a family thing. JC enjoys going in at least twice a week to train with the most knowledgeable people that she knows, so she can become prepared for real-life situations. And thanks to all of them, she had the opportunity to get a black belt herself. So, JC, being an influencer and a leader at our studio, this is a perfect question for you. What recommendation do you have to bring more youth into schools and have them step up into being leaders?
Thank you. So bringing new youth into the schools is very important because without new students, our traditions will die. The constant flow of new students coming up through the ranks will keep the school's traditions alive. So in order to bring new students into schools, I think it is important that we make sure we're appealing to the youth. Kids and young adults' lives are very centered around social media. So advertising online on modern apps like TikTok or Instagram will help bring in a new crowd. I do know that the studio is frequently making posts on Facebook about events at the studio, but I feel that if we did more advertising about the benefits of life at the studio on these more modern apps, then it would help draw in a larger crowd. Another way we could include more youth in the studio is by advertising to friends and family. Say an adult who already practices martial arts wants to enroll their son, maybe their son's friends could give it a try as well. I know one of my neighbors has been interested in karate for a while, so when I invited them to come watch my black belt test, they became inspired to start. Karate is a fun group activity that anyone could try, so I'm always encouraging my friends to come try it. Now when it comes to responsibility at the studio, having a bunch of undisciplined kids running around isn't the best way to create a strong future. So now I think, how do we turn these kids into leaders? Obviously, we're not going to have an orange belt teaching the class, but teaching the kids responsibility and discipline by letting them lead is a good way to turn them into future leaders. When I came up to the higher ranks, like green and brown belt, rather than taking the kids' classes, I would help teach them. Then take the adult advanced class to learn something new. I noticed other kids doing this as well, which not only inspires the students you're teaching, but it also shows the black belts that you're ready to test into higher ranks. I've also noticed that inspiring underbelts is a good way to give an example on how to be a good leader. Letting kids watch somebody work hard and getting results inspires them to do the same. Once I was preparing for my black belt test and I was asked to perform my black belt form in front of the kids' classes, and watching their faces after I completed my form gave me a new sense of confidence. I could tell that they felt inspired to be a leader, just like all the other black belts in the studio.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. I did a job for you, ladies. It is at this time we have the changing of the guards, and so we will be bringing couple minutes, we'll be bringing our the student school ownership panel up. While the panelists are getting their seats and everything, we do have a survey. I was going to mention at the end, but I'll mention it right now as well. We have a survey that we would really appreciate if you filled out, so we get your input. Things that, so we would really like to make improvements, and we'd like to know the things that we've done well. And so we can be more prepared, or, just do the changes we would like to at the next symposium. So we have it here. And Michelle will have it available. And welcome to everybody up here at the panel. All right. I get a chance to introduce Sean and Rebecca Knight. Wonderful from Arizona. They will be sharing about their studio, and I'll read their bio right now. Sean and Rebecca Knight are 7th degree black belts and senior professors in the lineage of Sika and Steve LeBounty. They have over 55 combined years in the art of Kenpo. Alongside their top-notch staff, they serve their students, whom they proudly call their Kenpo family. Sean Knight studied under the direction of Bill Packer for 15 years with a background in wrestling. He found Kenpo to be exactly what he needed to balance his knowledge. From his very first lesson, he knew that Kenpo would become his primary focus. Mr. Knight began teaching at the age of 17 and found his life's passion therein. Rebecca Knight attended her first Kenpo session in 1996 and immediately felt something that she had never felt before, a small, delicate sense of worth which grew out over the years to an overwhelming feeling of confidence and strength. That feeling was what cultivated her, is why she trains and why she teaches, to see the bloom of the hearts of these students, to show each and every one of them what they are truly capable of, and that is anything that they put their heart and their mind to. Over the years, Mr. Knight has been involved in many schools. In 2001, he opened the Broadway School in Tucson, Arizona, where he met his wife, Rebecca. The school has continued to be their flagship operation and hosts all the winter training camps and black belts. In June of 2016, Sean and Rebecca purchased a building within the same plaza, and their school was transformed into the 4,000 square foot training center that it is today. In 2006, Mr. and Mrs. Knight met Sigun Stephen LeBounty in a seminar class and immediately respected his training ethic and the rough and tumble drills. After seeking training opportunities with Sigun over several years, the Knights asked him to be their personal teacher, to which Sigun always replied, "No, but you can ask me later again." Then on September 18, 2010, Sigun finally said yes. In 2019, Mrs. Knight was an honoree in Tom Blinker's Journey, Book 3, and Mr. Knight was inducted into the Masters Hall of Fame by my husband, Mr. Bob White. In addition to teaching across the country, Mr. and Mrs. Knight host a yearly training camp where they bring in the top-notch instructors from various disciplines to expand their knowledge base and to share with the martial arts community. All events are non-political and all are welcome who wish to learn and share. So your question is, how do you ensure consistency with teachers at your school to make sure your core standards are being taught the way you want them to be taught? And then you have a second part of this question, which is, do you have a leadership program to ensure your standards and goals are the same throughout?
All right, to answer the first part of the question and hand it over to my husband for the second part. For us, building good students starts with the team. And if you're building a team of people, we've learned through the years of running a school together for 20 years, oftentimes the people that want to be the instructor aren't the right person to be the instructor for the job. So we want to make sure that we challenge ourselves to choose the right people. And we have an amazing team of instructors in our school with great diversity. How we choose these people is watching their training ethic. We don't need the most talented martial artist walking in the door to teach the next generation. We need the most passionate people, the people that take their training seriously, the people that are consistent, the people that have challenges and overcome them, and we watch how they overcome those challenges. Because if they have issues they've had in their training along the way, what better people to show that it can be overcome and show how that was possible to the next generation. So being a good martial artist is one of the key things in being a part of our team. But the quality of character is everything. There's a great saying that they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So we are incredibly lucky that we have people that are equally talented in the martial arts and passionate about their training on our team, but they're also the kind of people that you would trust anyone with, your child, your family member, your bank account. So the quality of character has to be one of the key components in who we choose to put out there with our students. As far as how we train them, my husband has put together an absolutely amazing program, and that's going to be his part of the question a little bit later on. Anything you'd like to add?
No, she did a really good job.
Do you have a leadership program to ensure your standards and goals are the same throughout?
We do. We have 2 leadership programs, one for the 7 to 14-year-olds so that they can, and those leaders just act as examples within the class. And they just kind of give the students someone to aspire to be, pattern their basics after and things like this. And then for the adults, we have a leadership program that meets once a month, and we kind of go over the main thing that we go over is just being a good student generally. So me and Miss Knight, we try to run the first couple of days of our curriculum, and we have the instructors come in and take a class first, because they can't really teach good classes if they're not consistently taking classes themselves. So then they just echo that lesson. Our lesson plan is such that it's very regimented. We know what's being taught per class, so it's an easier thing to maintain consistency on, especially as the instructors, after we instruct, are running an echo of that class. So they literally get to echo what we do, and it keeps our training models fairly tight.
Thank you. This next woman that I'd like to introduce, I met her and her husband Steve about 20 years ago, and they're such wonderful friends. I have a lot of respect and a lot of love for Shalene Herring, and thank you for being here. Shalene Herring was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Her martial arts journey began at the age of 16 in the summer of 1973 at the University of California, Riverside. Fueled by her desire to protect herself as a single female away from home, she took a course in Taekwondo. After training for about a year and a half and still yearning for the confidence needed to protect herself, Shalene began to look at other styles of martial arts. In 1976, Shalene was invited to visit the Pasadena studio of the now late senior Grandmaster Ed Parker, and she decided to give herself a birthday gift by signing up for a course. And thus her Chinese Kenpo journey began with the late Sitai Gun, Steve Herring. Steve Herring was a black belt and manager at Mr. Parker's Pasadena studio. Her martial arts training took place at the studio, at martial arts seminars and camps, and in parks, backyards, garages, or any place there was a workout happening. In 1980, Steve Herring relocated to Seattle, Washington, and invited Shalene to visit. Her visit resulted in a new journey as a wife and a continuing student. In the mid-1980s, their journey continued with Sigo Marvin Kwan and began learning Northern and Southern Chinese Kung Fu styles. Shalene's Silam training included numerous traditional weapons, such as broadsword, double-edged swords, cane, iron fan, staff, and spears. She also began training in Yang-style Chai Chi Chuan and learning the healing aspects of martial arts. In 1995, Steve and Shalene opened Two Dragons Martial Arts Studio in Pasadena, California. Steve developed Xuan Shu, a system which incorporates Chinese Kenpo, Northern Silam, Kung Fu, and Yang-style Tai Chi Chuan into a comprehensive curriculum. In 2007, Steve left our physical world to finish his spiritual journey. For over 15 years, Shalene has been the sole owner and chief instructor of Two Dragons Martial Arts Studio in Altadena, California. Shalene, along with her 2 beautiful young adults, Solomon and Sarah Herring, who are both black belts and champion martial artists, are the legacy of Sitai Gung Steve Herring, dedicating a life of service to the community. So Shalene, what's your model for success in keeping your business open for so many years through your ups and downs? on what has changed over the years, and reflecting back, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Okay. Sometimes it scares me when I hear all of that. It's like, boy, that's a long time. That's a lot of living. Well, I think, and I thought about this for a minute, thinking, what is this plan for success? We always plan. We can plan, we do things and we plan. But at some point in time in life, it don't go like it was planned. So we have to make changes, and we have to keep making changes, because nothing stays the same. The only consistency is change. So my success model for business has changed throughout the years. When I first started, I had my partner in crime and my backbone and everything, and that was 12 years of real success. And then I was solo. So I had to figure out how to do it solo. I think that I went through a lot of different assorted types of business models and success plans. I think it's a journey. I think you have to find what works for you, and that is what is going to create your life for you. You have to know what it is. So my current success model, since COVID, because COVID changed everything again. I mean, you start up and you're moving and you're grooving, and then we had to shut down. Then life changed again. So I think we have to learn how to be flexible. We have to learn how to be resilient. We have to learn how to stay in faith that everything you do is going to be okay. I think we really do get to that place in life where it really doesn't matter whether you do something good or bad, it's going to be okay. You just have to figure out how you want to work through that. And it's not about, I think what martial arts teach us is, well, all of us that have been involved in martial arts know we have perseverance. We can do whatever we choose to do. We just have to make that decision of what it is we want to do. And then we go about the doing. And so right now, my plan when I started out right after COVID was believing that I can continue, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to. I just kind of thought maybe that's just something I need to change in my life right now. But I had to reinvent who I am, what I believe in, and what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I started out with believing in myself and what I choose to do. Then I started working on a plan. And that plan was learning how to have faith and trust in what I chose to do and how I was going to work the new school that I was bringing about, because it was not the same. It was like starting from scratch. I pretty much started over again. And so I created a team of people that we are working diligently on all the things that we think are important within that system that we've chose to build. And I think that getting a good team is really important, because you can't do anything alone. I don't know, in my lifetime, nothing that I have ever gotten through that has been difficult in my life, it has never been alone. I've always had family, friends, my martial arts family. If these people weren't in my life, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today, because they held me up when I couldn't hold myself up. So I do know that you have to have that good team of people that are working with you, and you all have the same vision. And so with that compassion and vision, you can build whatever you choose to build. And from there, you just execute. You spread your wings and you soar. And you just enjoy life and find those things that are important for you in life. That's the business of success.
Shalene, thank you so much.
Administrative duties. So I would like to introduce the Bells. To talk about Connie and Fred Bell's Kenpo journeys would mean going back to the 70s when both of them started their Kenpo journey. Connie began training in the Central Valley town of Selma, California, while Fred started his training in the Orange County city of Anaheim, California. Though they were cities apart from each other, they both had the same desire in training in the martial arts, specifically Kenpo. Sensei Connie trained under Dave Jimenez under the Levante lineage, and Sensei Fred trained under Art Ogawa under the lineage of Mr. Master Fred Brewster and Tony Sortar. Connie and Fred's journey began together in 2012 as they joined forces to run their school in Fresno, California. In 2023, their school is celebrating 15 years of having the school open to serve the Fresno community. They teach the original system of Ed Parker's Kenpo with several creative forms that they also teach to their students. They have a successful team that competes in tournaments, and that team includes their 10-year-old son who has competed most of his life. And here this weekend.
I just took 2 first place.
Very good. They are proud of their students and the black belts that are under their lineage. The saying at their school is that nothing is given, it is always earned. So, Connie and Fred, can you tell us about the transition from a home dojo to a brick and mortar studio? And how did you make the decision to make the larger investment?
Well, he does most of the talking because I'm Cobra Kai. He's Mr. Miyagi. So I'll let him.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pass this down. But it's kind of weird transition because we didn't go from a house to a dojo. We went from a dojo to a house to a dojo. And so that's kind of go back a little bit from that part of it because obviously, not exactly what you just said, kind of the same idea. When we had a successful school, our school was doing amazing. And we were probably maybe 120 students and we were rolling. And then this 5-letter word came, COVID, and it took us down to probably 20%. And so we had to close. But we still had the desire, we didn't want to stop. So I have a construction background, and let's say I have a huge garage, and we converted it into a dojo. We had probably 30 plus of our students stayed with us during that COVID period. And so we were able to keep it going. And it was actually kind of comfortable. If you're a school owner, and I'd have to have a lot of overhead stuff, it's kind of comfortable, So, but there was a desire to still go out there and do what we needed to do, have our own building, this and that. I'm trying to kind of work my way into the question here, but the hardest part, again, I guess, was the fear of what's happening out there. Since, like I said, it was easy to be at our house and kind of deal with everything that's outside a little bit. But then going out there again, now we have to deal with that COVID word again. What's going to change and the restrictions and everything else. So being in California, I don't know, somewhere out of state a little bit, but California was tough. And so we were forced to really, and then Fresno was even tougher yet a little bit. So we weren't allowed to open at all. So we were kind of put in that dilemma. But the transition was easy part. It was easy part for us to move from the house to a brick and mortar type building again. I think because we had the student base a little bit. Like I said, now we're probably 50 students because people are coming, but we had a lot of students that wanted to come back but didn't want to come to our house. I guess the house wasn't fit. So we were at that part of, we found the building. Actually, we went to the same building again. The owners contacted us and said, guys, please come back. So we did, which was great. But then, going over everything that we have to deal with as far as the building, insurance, and all the other issues, we got through. The home part was easy, other than the fact that our neighbors started to hate us. No parking down the street, and it was pretty bad. But then that was always in the back of our head. But so we went through that for probably a year and a half. And then going back into it was great. Though, slow, it's been kind of a slow year in the sense as far as trying to transition back, but we're probably pushing 100 students again, which is great. We have really strong black belts and everything else. kind of supporting us, and we're moving in that direction to where we want to, so. But I mean, I guess, did I answer the question about what's good or bad about it? Obviously financially it gets tough, though you're really worried, does anybody that's not everybody have a home dojo? You're always worried about injury and everything else, and the liabilities that come with it. You're in your home, so that part of it was always in the back of our head. So, and then, so when we opened our school, then it gets a lot easier because liability kind of shifts into the building and everything else. So, I think I answered the question. Did you answer any of this? No. Anyway.
I do all the teaching.
No. Okay. Anyway. Go ahead. Was there another question?
No, that was it.
Was there a second part? I think there was an answer for everybody as far as what they offered.
No, that was it.
Okay, great.
You can deal with Connie later.
Oh, you can't handle me.
Thank you. So our next panelist is dear to my heart, Miss Sandra D. We have been in the same organization almost 30 years, and we have been providing Kenpo love to each other in many ways. Some that lasted more than one day or two, or after a few camps and that. When Sandra was growing up in the Philippines, she wanted to learn martial arts, but it was not something girls were encouraged to do. In 1987, she was introduced to Kenpo by Freddie Aganoy, who studied under Senior Master of the Arts, John Sepulveda. And Sandra embraced how the art taught her that girls can play well in the sandbox. She was bitten by the Kenpo bug and has been a student of Senior Master Sepulveda ever since, and is currently the longest active student of Mr. Sepulveda. I don't want to say oldest. I'm going to say the longest. Of all of Mr. Sepulveda's students, she's the longest active student of Mr. Sepulveda, which is a pretty amazing feat if you know who Mr. Sepulveda is. She tested for her first degree black belt in 1993 and for 6th degree in 2021. She started in 1995. She took a 6-year break to raise her son and returned in 2001 with a strong desire to continue her Kenpo journey. Sandra discovered her love of teaching and realized how much Kenpo and her Kenpo family had become an essential part of her life. Sandra has been extremely humbled to take over Santa Clara Kenpo Academy in 2011 and took the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to help provide a place for like-minded Kenpo practitioners to learn, teach, and promote what they love to do. She didn't even imagine she could achieve the rank of 6th degree and even more to run a school. Sandra says, when you are blessed with a gift, you live by the 3 G's: gratitude, grow, and give back. Her mission is to continue the high-quality training of legacy of Grandmaster Sepulveda alongside her team of other amazing and longtime Kenpo enthusiasts, also led by 9th degree Larry Beltramo, 8th degree black belt Gary Murray, and Gil Acosta. She is very proud of the Santa Clara Kenpo Academy team who continue to passionately share the gift of Kenpo. So Sandra, how do you balance school ownership with your own training?
I have to start first by explaining what their school structure is, because so the school, when I took it over, it was closed by the previous owner who took it over from Mr. Sepulveda when Mr. Sepulveda went to Idaho. And so we had to kind of reopen everything and restart and rebuild the student base. Back then, I wasn't ready to take on anything. I've never had a business, much less run a school, and I had instructors in the school that were my seniors. So my confidence in, signing that lease and committing my 401k to starting the school over was because of the seniors that I had, Mr. Acosta, Mr. Murray, and everything. And so I said, okay, we have all these people who want to learn Kenpo, and I want to continue to learn Kenpo. But so when we started that journey, they're a big part of me. And as you heard from a lot of the people here on this table, it's a team. And you ride with all the challenges that come through. COVID was very tough on all of us. And financially, emotionally, because you're invested. But the good thing about the place that we have is that we also have careers during the day. This is what we do at night because we love what we do. We're not, I can honestly say we're not for profit because, You know, we go there, the same team goes there every week, every night to have to teach their own schedules for the last 12 years, and we've been blessed, you know. But we are there because we love what we do, and we love what we can share to people. So when it comes to balancing the school ownership with training, on my end, I take care of the backbone, right? Janitorial, purchasing, HR, bookkeeping. Because it's a small business, we're not a big school whatsoever. But I also want to learn, I want to continue learning because the focus of the school is to make sure that high quality that Mr. Sepulveda has set out there continues. We continue to learn, we attend seminars, we're not, we haven't learned everything. So we learn from everybody here, from the experiences, and we bring that back to the school. And so when we balance the ownership and the training, I have to make time to train. I have to say, I want to learn some new stuff. So the way our classes are structured is we have instructors and they have their own nights of the week that they teach. And we also have private lessons. We have, because what we learn, we pass on. So we want to make sure that we're learning quality as well. So, the ownership type, I have time in there that I go in there and do my bookkeeping and, change the garbage cans and what have you. But, we also encourage people to have seminars at the school. We take time, like right now, people cover my classes so that I can attend functions and learn and share in the community. Balancing the training is all about time management. There's a lot. There's days when I go like, oh my God, I have to go to work. And then now I got to go to the school. But then again, those little dragons that everybody here knows about, those are the ones that ground you. Those are the ones that tell you, this is what you're doing while you're doing it. So, keeping in mind why tells you how. Because when you know what you're there for, everything else follows. Thank you.
All right. Our final panelist. I want to first start by saying congratulations to Tony, who just was promoted to 7th 2 weeks ago, correct? So, awesome. Erica and Tony Potter, some say it was destiny, some say part of God's plan. They both met at a Kenpo school in Santa Fe, New Mexico in the early part of 2000. Tony would like to say it was love at first sight. Erica, not so much. Ironically, they both had trained under the same instructor off and on for a few years, but had never met. One day while Tony was training at the dojo, the door opens and in walks Erica and her little baby, Marcus. She was out for a jog and had noticed that her instructor had a new location. Tony asked his training partner who it was that was talking to Mr. Hamilton. He said, that's my big sister. He also said, stay away. Apparently that didn't work. Tony had moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico in 1989, trying to find his way after losing his scholarship playing football in McPherson College due to an injury. Tony always seemed to have the desire to do some form of martial arts. Fighting seemed to be something he always got himself into. From the time he was in grade school, Tony always had a problem with kids picking on other kids, but he had no problem sticking up for them. That never changed as Tony got older. One night after work at the establishment where he worked, his manager suggested he come by his Kenpo dojo. He had no idea what Kenpo was. It had something to do with fighting, so it sounded like a good idea, since fighting seemed to be something he did often. Erica is a Native American from the pueblos of Jimenez and thank you, and San Juan, New Mexico. She has been involved in martial arts since 1987. At 15, she started training in the art of Chinese Kenpo under the director of Mr. Larry Hamilton. When she started her martial arts journey, she was simply the big sister driving her little brother to his karate class. She would sit and wait until finally one day she decided to join in on the fun. She trained until she graduated from high school and began working 2 jobs to help her mother with the bills while going to college to obtain her criminal justice associate's degree. She had a goal of joining the state police force, but after the birth of her son Marcus, her path took a different turn. After getting married, Tony and Erica, along with their instructor and a few students, attended a Jeff Speakman Kenpo 5.0 seminar. After that day, their future in Kenpo would take a turn for the better, and they have not looked back. Both Mr. and Mrs. Potter travel the world with their instructor, Mr. Speakman, teaching seminars and sharing their love for Kenpo. Mrs. Potter keeps herself very busy, not only running a school, but raising 3 children. Mr. and Mrs. Potter love traveling together, teaching Kenpo throughout the country. They both love donating their time to their church and the public schools, giving motivational talks and helping with the PE classes. Tony is a longtime member of the Knights of Columbus. Both Tony and Erica make their service to God a priority. Mr. Potter is a certified technical instructor for the Santa Fe County Detention. He loves working with law enforcement, helping them sharpen their skills. In 2014, Mr. Potter started teaching at a high school for a program called Kiva. This is a special class for high school students who have special needs with different challenges. A few years later, Mr. Potter realized the importance of consistency in their lives with their training. He created a class at their dojo, which has now grown exponentially. Which, is this the award that you just were acknowledged for? Received an award from the city because of their work in this area, so congratulations on that. That was pretty amazing. It now takes Mr. Potter and Mrs. Potter and their son Marcus to teach their very unique and uplifting class. This is their passion, helping people change their lives for the better. With their 3 children, Mr. and Mrs. Potter are doing what they love, teaching and changing lives one kick at a time. As Tony says, it all matters, they all matter. So, here are final questions. How do you separate a business relationship from a friendship relationship, particularly when it comes to teaching close personal friends? And how do you separate that business relationship from a husband-wife partner relationship when it comes to yourself as joint business owners?
Okay, I will start just a little bit. I'm kind of like them. I don't do the speaking, he does all of that. But the other night I wanted to ask some of our students exactly how we made them feel, or just separating the relationship between friendship and us as instructors. And a lot of it came back very positive, wonderful. It had to do with a lot of how we made them feel, trust, the trust, the faith they had in us. I'm trying to remember what else it was. The consistency, but more than anything, what really came was just even from my children, trying to separate those relationships. And it was kind of easy because from the beginning, from the office to the mat, there is a difference. And they trust that it's all for good reason. So I think that was like one of the main things, and just showing that there is that very big word of respect, no matter who you are. We were just giving that, so then they give that back. So that's one of the main things that I got from that.
When we met Master Speakman in the end of 2002, he invited us to Las Vegas to the camp, to the World Championships. We went and we were blown away by the family that we saw in front of us, the people coming together from all over the world, and we wanted that. We wanted it so bad. And what's crazy is, so we joined. I think it was 8 months later, Master Speakman, he gave me a call and he said, hey, would you like to come to California and stay at my house? I'm gonna go out of the country and I'd love to have your house sit. He knew me for 9 months. 9 months. And he asked for us to go and house sit at his house. Who does that? I mean, you can hire people. But he just did it because he liked us and he trusted us. The first year we went to Vegas, we were offered to stay at his cabin after the camp. And instead of staying at his cabin, I stayed at my good friend and my mentor, Anto Parsesian's house. That's the family that we joined, and that's the environment that we have continued. We want our school to be a family, but at the same time, we set a standard. On the mat, I'm Mr. Potter. My kids call me Mr. Potter. From the day they were born, they call me Mr. Potter. When we're at home, I'm Dad. Then they tell me what to do at home. Now my son's a 5th degree black belt and he helps run the school. Sometimes he tells me what to do at the school, but not on the mat. And that's the thing. And you know, that was set by Master Speakman. We are friends. We're friends first. We become friends, and then we're able to do many, many things all over the world. So yes, we're friends. But then when it comes to, we can be telling a joke. It's so funny when we're sitting at a table with Master Speakman. We'll be here and he'll be telling me a joke, and 3 minutes later he's mad at me because I wasn't paying attention to something, but he was just telling me a joke. It's that yin-yang. You have to have that balance. We are the yin-yang. We have that balance. It's not always been easy. I mean, teaching your wife martial arts, that's the piece of cake, right? And as a wife, having your husband teach you the martial arts, piece of cake, right? No, it's not easy. But we do it with the grace of God. We do it because we love each other. We do it because we love the art. We love the motion. We love the family that's involved with us. We have an event every year, Kenpo in the Mountains. How do we mix it? It's amazing how we mix it. We have over 400 people gathering together at a campsite, having drinks, having fun, having a test out in the mud. You go to Facebook, you can see the pictures. These kids are getting water dumped on their head in a mud pit. And yes, their gis are destroyed. So the parents are like, okay, I guess we gotta buy another gi. That's not in the plan. But then we get back to Santa Fe and it's all back to work. And there's no questions. And it's a beautiful thing. So how we do it? We've been graced. You know, we've been blessed, and we're very thankful.
Thank you so much. I'd like to ask the rest of the panelists to come out and take a seat. And I have 2 announcements to make. One is that everybody here who has attended will receive a participant certificate. That is, you'll get those, and they're really beautiful certificates. And second, we have our survey. This is for you to provide feedback to us. We have a paper form. We have some pens if you need a pen. However, there is a QR code in the top right corner if you want to use your phone to fill it out. We would really appreciate any information or feedback or anything you would like for us to know. We really do take it seriously, and we love when people provide feedback. So that's coming around right now. So my last job is to find out if there are any questions that you all have for our wonderful panelists. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about it.
Thank you. So this question is for everyone, but primarily Barbara and Ms. Plowman. You've been doing this for a number of years now, and one of your goals is to get women more exposure, more recognition. Do you feel you're making progress, and how do you measure that progress? What's your end goal?
I think measuring progress, up here. You know, there's a saying that the journey is better than the end, and the progress is the journey that we have going forward, and exciting women and having. I think our Facebook page has very much grown. Denise has done a lot of promotion and uplifting of women and things that are going on social media. So I really believe this is a journey, and it's a journey in the right direction, and it's according to God's will. I really do give it to the Lord, and I trust in Him. And it's where the journey is going to take us. And so I think that it is progress. I am so grateful for the opportunity that God has given us to be able to provide a service for others and lift others up, lift women up. So that's how I measure it, is the journey on the way. What was the second part of the question?
Well, that was it.
Oh, that was it. Good. Oh, and here's Denise to answer.
Then there's the data.
No, so, you know, what I can say is the feedback that I get from the social media is really what tells me that we're reaching out there. I hear from people all the time from all over the world. Who's here because they heard about it on social media? I know one. I mean, that right there tells me there's success in what we're doing. Not everybody can come to this, so the recordings that we do, that we put out there, they're always there. The resource library that we create, the constant encouragement when I see somebody out there that I'd like to highlight that I think has a journey that somebody else could follow. That's the successes that I see, because the feedback that I get in my DMs or messages back on Facebook and stuff. So I think we will continue, and then the numbers that continue to grow on there. But more people are starting to come forward and expressing interest and saying, hey, what about this? Can we do that? That's also another measurement of our success, is wanting to provide some input of where we can go from here as well too. So he owes me 2 drinks now.
Don't you one drink for like 20 years?
I know, now it's 5.
Hi, so this question is for Marisol or anybody else who has insight. I follow several accounts on Instagram about women in martial arts, and it seems that whenever there's a technique thrown out there, you get the men underneath, oh, that'll never work, that'll never work, that'll never work. And oh, women can't defend themselves because they're smaller or weaker or whatever. And I have the privilege of working out regularly with Barbara White and Heather Flessing and Andrew Peffer, and I have 2 older brothers, so I was always had to be stronger. But my mother's Peruvian, so I'm asking you, Latina to Latina, how do you get over the machismo that is so prevalent?
Spanish? No.
And anyone else, any of the other women, you're sitting next to men who taught you the art. How do you get past them? It's okay.
First of all, I want to do an addition to the previous question, because recently in March we do our first Latin American Symposium. Okay, the video is finished. Sorry, I need to please announce, but maybe next week we will have the video of the first Latin American Symposium. For me, after 1 year to being in the team of Kenpo Women's Symposium, for me it's really a big achievement. Expand this movement to Latin America. And obviously we want to expand to Europe, to other countries and other places, For your question, Jennifer, it's very difficult to not just show things. You need to demonstrate, always. It's a path very slow, but when you achieve the respect of others, everything is, the result is very organic, but it's slow. It's not a quick, it's not a quick journey to get there. That is for me. I don't know if someone wants to answer.
I'll add a little bit in there. I've been around a block or two. So it's been a fun journey and a wonderful journey, and I've had more men in my life than I've had women as far as martial arts is concerned. Now it's, we see us everywhere, but we've always been there. You know that, right? We've always been there, and we're not going anywhere. And they can do all the talking they want to talk, but they're not there without us. They need us. It's a joint operation. And so if they enjoy using their words to say negative things, it's okay. That's their problem. That's not yours. Period.
Just on that note, I agree. I think that what Marisol is saying is just do what you do, enjoy what you do, and just keep pushing forward. I mean, we're here. We've been here for a long time. When I first started the journey, and like Mr. Potter was saying, when we first were invited to our first camp in Las Vegas, which was 2003, my son was probably, I think, like 3 months old. And my goodness, there was very, very little women on that floor. I think there was 40 total of people that were participants of this camp. But there were just very few, and there was a few younger, they were, I think, teens at the time. And I was like, oh my goodness, just so inspiring, and just made me want to do that. And that's a very good friend of mine. I believe, I'm pretty sure it was her, but it's Mr. Parsazian's wife, Marinane. I'll forever always just cherish that drive that she inspired me, and I just want to still continue. I always tell them I want to be like you when I grow up. I'm like probably half of that, could be their parent. But, and that's what it is. It's just, you just keep going and just love what you do. And I have great training partners, so if you have those great training partners, stick with it. Mine is my husband and my children that are now like probably way taller and bigger than I am, but they push me, and I continue to love what I do.
Can I say something on that question? Most men can't do the techniques that are taught efficiently. And when they tell you they can, they're lying. There's a lot of people out there that act like they can make it work. You'll make it work if you make it work on the day you need to make it work. And you won't know whether or not you will until that day. Technique lines aren't going to tell you whether or not you can make it work. Somebody punches you in the face, see if you get up and make it work. And you women are tough. You have babies. I've never had a baby.
Thank goodness.
Marisol and I have a friend in common from children. I taught a seminar when I met him, and he refers to me as his stepmaster. So I got his respect by my teaching.
Can I add to that as well? To follow up what a lot of people have said is show up. Show up. I think women, and I know I was raised this way, we were raised to be demure, to be quiet, to kind of not really stick up for ourselves, whether it was emotionally standing up for ourselves or asking to be treated as equal. And it's the same thing in the martial arts. Show up, be a force to be reckoned with, be the blender. That's what I teach my students. Everyone knows my elbows are nicknamed my blender blades, and they're small, but no one wants to put their hand in a blender when the blender's going. So show up, let people know who you are, and have the right attitude and take action. But stand up for yourself. I think that's the key against that machismo attitude.
So it's been very well answered, this question. I'm going to take a little bit of a different route. There is an element of physics of motion that comes into Kenpo, and any human can utilize the physics, the Newtonian physics of motion, when it comes to being able to implement timing of utilizing your body mass to make elements work. Men are generally bigger than women, so they can make people move without necessarily utilizing the physics of motion. In order for women to make men move the way that men can make anybody else move, we utilize the timing and the proper physics of motion. So it is the why behind what we all teach in Kenpo, the why behind the motion. And when we can understand the why behind the motion, it doesn't matter how big you are, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, it matters the mindset and if you know how to apply it.
One more thing, it's called a front kick.
Thank you. Other questions? I'm just waiting because I have a question that I want to ask. But I want to give you all an opportunity to get your questions in. Okay, all right. I have two questions, and I'm super thrilled that we have two young women here because, yes, thank you. Because I know I'm here because of the next generation, and I know that's something that we are all striving for, is to make that path broader, wider, for the next generation to come up behind us. And so I have a question for each of the young women that are here, and I'm going to give you both your question so you have a few seconds to think about it. So Madeline, my question for you is, you're starting your senior year in high school. So that's a really important year. There's a lot of decisions to be made, and you are on your journey in Kenpo. And so I'm interested to hear from you what that's going to look like. How do you plan to continue your journey, like what it might look like with your upcoming future? So that's your question. And then for JC, you are starting this journey in high school?
I'm going into 8th grade.
You're going into 8th grade. So, okay. My question for you is that you're already a black belt. You're already on your journey in Kenpo. What do you want all of us old people to know about your training? How you want us to interact with you as instructors, as school owners? What do you want us to know, and how can we support you in your training? So I'm going to have Madeline go first, and you can have a few seconds to think about your question.
I think really how I'm going to continue my journey in Kenpo while entering in this new phase of my life, like going into my last year of high school, is really just working on prioritizing Kenpo, because I know it's something I love doing, and so it's something that in my mind is a no-brainer to put the energy and effort into more than I have been lately. So I'm definitely looking forward to the new time that I have created for Kenpo in the upcoming future.
So to answer my question, how you want us to train with me?
What do you want us to know to support you in your training?
So I guess going to like middle school and then eventually into high school, my schedule is getting like more busy, after school sports, clubs, a bunch of other stuff. So when it comes to training, I try to get in at least twice a week. Normally for like Tuesday classes, I'll help teach, and then if I can, Saturdays, and then I'll work out with my dad. But training, like, I guess now that I'm a black belt, there are the like more advanced techniques, so I'll go to the advanced classes to learn those. But I guess working hard and like quick workouts and like staying like fit for soccer and a bunch of other sports. So especially with my dad, like he works with me a lot. So being able to have him help me like along this journey through middle school and high school, it's been really great.
Last call for questions from the audience. All right, as you're thinking, I want to remind you, please fill out the survey. Yes.
First of all, I'd really like to thank everybody out in the panel up here who's contributed your time, your enthusiasm, your sacrifices that you made to be here and to support this. You know, it's such. Oh. All right, owner question. Forgive me. Do you have any programs, fundraisers assigned with your own school to help provide scholarships to support those who would be unable to attend due to financial difficulties?
Okay. Yes, there's lots of things out there. And I think when I first started out, and that's when my husband was still living, we started a nonprofit program ourselves because we couldn't find anything. And over the years, I've kept that nonprofit going with the for-profit just because I'm always having students that are in need and need help. So we created the nonprofit program to raise the funds. But now, what I've found within the last maybe year or two, there's a lot of martial arts foundations out there that are giving scholarships to the students. So you have to find out what's going on in your area. I've connected with 2 places and they are providing scholarships, and I just need to find the kids, and there's a whole lot of them. So you just have to look up and find out where those foundations are and find out how to apply. Most of the people that apply or that you give the application to, we found that they don't know how to even put that application together to get it processed. To expedite the process, my office administrator, she does the paperwork for them, and we submit the paperwork through the foundation, and they're happy with us doing that because it helps us to connect the dots. So you just gotta get out there and kind of dig in there and really find it, but more martial arts foundations are becoming available, and there's funds out there for those kids. So get out there and get going.
We don't have a scholarship, but if somebody can't afford it, we either have them help out in the dojo by cleaning for their classes, or another thing we do is they can pay half price. If they can't do that, and so we just let them do it for free, because if they really want to do it, come on in, you can do it. We're not going to stop you because you don't have any money. We're here to help people, and that's what we do. And like we have students that can't pay, but they're high rank and they're not doing very well right now. So you come in the mat, hold the bags. That's your tuition right there. That's what we do for our scholarships.
We started our school 20 years ago with 16 homeschool kids, our son Marcus being one of them, because he was being homeschooled and he didn't have a PE class, so we started teaching a PE class. So we were teaching that PE class, and then we went to my now landlord and asked if we could rent the building from our old instructor was leaving. He was behind 3 months in rent, so he said, you can have it. I went to the landlord, I said, I have 16 students and we would like to rent the building and take over the lease, and I'll pay the past rent. He's about 65 years old at the time, and he looks at me and he goes, well, how much are those 16 kids paying? And I said, they're not paying anything. And he goes, well, how in the heck are you gonna pay me? I go, I have another job. I just want a place to train. My wife and I want to train. He goes, well, let me get this straight. You want to run a business, but you're not going to run it like a business. How are you going to pay me? You're going to be in the same spot as your old instructor. And he goes, Tony, run it like a business and you're going to be around for a long time. You run it like a charity, you're going to be out of business soon. 10, 12 years later, he builds us a 5,000 square foot building, and he took us to lunch, and he said, he charges us I'm gonna tell you, I don't mind, because I'm pretty psyched. Santa Fe, New Mexico, he charges us $3,000 a month for a 5,000 square foot building. Any of you school owners know that's crazy. You don't find that. He took us to lunch and he goes, just so you know, I told you all those years ago, run it like a business, or you're gonna be out of business. When you start running it just like a business and not from your heart, I'm gonna raise the rent.
There's also opportunities because, AKTS, which is the oldest organization, has a lot of schools and a lot of students. Okay, so we're an organization, we have a lot of schools, we have a lot of students all over the US and everything. So we have also the camps, the spirit camp that we have every year. So in our organization, we offer, people, going to the camp, the flights, right? The flights and the payment for the camp. So we have sponsorships wherein we would send students that would not normally make it, right? And, there's people that are being sent to seminars within our own schools. If there's people who want to attend it but never really have the means to do it. So there's sponsorship spots that we encourage them because they're the word of the future. They're the ones that are going to be our future instructors. I would like to think that we're training people for a lifetime, for a lifestyle. And so when we have those moments where we have people that just generously say, I can't attend, but here's the tuition for 2 or 3 people. And that speaks volumes because the people that you have in the organization, because you're a family, they don't know these people, but they say, because I can't come, have these people, we have 3 spots open, go ahead and I'll take care of it. So that's where the humanity comes in, and that's what we encourage because we're a family. So.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to conclude for tonight. First, I want to thank everybody out here. You've come and you've given of your time and you've supported us to something that we are so passionate about, and truly appreciate all of you out here. I really do. As a team, we couldn't have the Kenpo Women's Symposium without an audience. So thank you so much to the panelists. You guys are so wonderful. Thank you so much for sacrificing your time and being here to be panelists. We've really enjoyed listening to each and every one of you. I've learned a lot just listening to you, and just feel truly grateful. And to our team, so very grateful to all that you do and that you've done to make this come together and support it. How do you measure success? It's by the goodwill. That's the end result of all of this, and that is success, is goodwill. So thank you so much. We have upcoming is the technique line that Denise Plowman is doing. So, I hope that you're able to stay, or that you want to stay and participate in the line itself. If you're not participating, encourage everybody, root everybody on, and just have a great time. And thank you so much. And this concludes our day.